Ikigai guy. Ikigai, for you, an easy way to remember to say it is E, like a long E, key, like you're unlocking a door, and guy, like this guy, Ikigai. And if you look it up, there's a common definition for it. Just means life purpose, and you'll probably see a Venn diagram that has four circles, four circle Venn diagram. And I want to introduce you to a deeper understanding of Ikigai today, as well as give you some tools to be able to try it out in your own life today. So we're going to do that in 10 minutes. But the Ikigai definition that most people are familiar with is, as I said, life purpose. I'm going to share this diagram real quick. All right, what you're seeing on the screen, the black and white version, is the four-person Venn diagram that says Ikigai is your passions or your interests, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what they're willing to pay for. The problem with that is it's career centric. And as we all know, careers come and go. And what I want to introduce you to is the more colorful Venn diagram that is a nexus, the Ikigai nexus, which is who you are, the expression of who you are at your deepest levels, essence, your purpose, your skills, your passions, your interests, your calling, all of that in harmony with whatever you're doing. So it's not just your career, that's about everything that you do. And what I want to do is share with you over my lifetime. I started in radio and TV when I was 16 years old. So I was a radio disc jockey and did some TV news, mostly radio. I have a face for radio. And then I became a United States Marine. I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. And if you want to understand what the broadcast world is like, I joined the Marines for a saner life than what I was having in the broadcasting. All right. Then I became an engineer in two different disciplines with a degree in history, by the way. Moved into executive leadership and then ultimately, as Sue mentioned, transformation work. And in all of that, I was able to live out my ikigai, my purpose. I could see threads of where I was the happiest, where I was doing the best, and where I was the most fulfilled, and where I was having the biggest impact. But on top of that, I had that same experience being a father, a grandfather, coaching my daughter's eighth grade girls basketball team to a national championship tournament, and and again playing with my grandkids and drinking espresso and running marathons. Because Ikigai is who I am, what I'm passionate about, all of it expressed in harmony with whatever I'm doing. And so I want to share that definition with you, and we're going to operate with that for the rest of the time today. Now, as I said, I've lived my Ikigai in all those different ways, and people will often ask me how they can find their Ikigai. And that's an important distinction as well. We don't really find it, we uncover it. Your Ikigai is there. It is there, and it's always been there, and it kind of gets covered up over life. I mean, we have disappointments, we have failures, we have the direction and guidance of well-meaning family and friends, right? And eventually our Ikigai gets covered up. And so what we want to talk about today is how we can uncover that and how we can begin living it again in harmony with whatever we're doing. So I'll introduce you to the three invitations of Ikigai, and those are the ways that we're going to uncover this. The first is getting the noise down. Getting the noise level down in our lives so that we can hear that still small voice of purpose calling us. Then we set about uncovering our purpose, and then we live our Ikigai, living your Ikigai. And what you'll notice, I'll go back to the diagram real quick. What you'll notice on the Ikigai nexus is that purpose is at the top. And that is intentional because your essence, who you are at the deepest levels, that takes a lot of self-examination, and that could take a lifetime to completely uncover. And you don't have to wait a lifetime to begin living your Ikigai. And so I focus on teaching to go after your purpose. and start defining that and exploring that. Because when you have that, as you're as you're engaging in those experiments of uncovering your purpose, yourself is revealed. And so that's part of what's going to jumpstart your opportunity to live out your ikigai. Okay. All right. So most of you are analytics people. Is that right? Is that what I'm getting? So you're very familiar with the 80-20 principle, right? Everybody head nods. Okay. What I want to introduce you today is the idea of thinking about 80% of what we do, or 80% of the good things in our life comes from a very small percentage of what we do. And that's 20%. I want you to think about ikigai as your 20%. So those times when you're the most fulfilled, when you're having the biggest impact, when you're enjoying life the most, that's your 20%. And what people get hung up on, especially when they go with the original Venn diagram, is they're looking for the perfect career or the perfect mate or the perfect anything. And I want you to think about your 20% that's your ikigai. Every percent that you can increase that in your life is worth 16 times the value of activities in the 80%. So you could make a huge difference in your life just by adding 1% of your time engaged in areas where you're more fulfilled. So we're going to work on that today. And that 20%, again, is 16 times the value of those activities outside of your ikigai, whether that's your work, whether that's your home, things you enjoy doing. All right. Now, one thing to get started on that is I want to invite you to think about islands of happiness. So, where are those moments when you are at your best, when you're most fulfilled, when you're enjoying yourself the most? And I'm going to tell a quick story to kind of illustrate that. Again, I'll ask people, what's your tennis ball? I had this dog. The dog's name was Nimrod. Nimrod is supposed to mean mighty hunter in the Bible. It's a story of a mighty hunter, but also could mean a goofball and something crazy. And this dog was a little more that than the biblical reference. But this dog would chase a tennis ball, all day long. As long as I was willing to throw it to him, he'd chase it. And I want you to think about, when are those times where, what's your tennis ball? When are those times when you would chase something all day long? Or another way to think of it is, what do I do that I enjoy so much that I forget eating? Like, I can tell you, I was spending some time writing my book, and I was going along, and I looked out the window and realized it was dark, and it was like 8 o'clock, and I had skipped dinner because I was just that into what I was doing. Those are indicators for you of your islands of happiness, or those moments when you are the most into what you're doing. And those are the places where you can begin exploring your ikigai. Again, ikigai itself can be a long process. What I'm going to encourage you to do is get started on something, even something small, and begin understanding your ikigai and uncovering it little by little, because every step you take gets you a little bit more understanding, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And so I'll show you what's called the Uzumaki swirl. And this is the symbol for your journey of ikigai. It's behind me as well, but you can see it starts small. And as you go along that path, you're going to refine your understanding. It's going to get tighter and better, and it's going to get deeper and richer. And the more time you spend exploring those moments of those islands of happiness and uncovering things about yourself and your understanding, the deeper and richer your understanding of yourself and your ikigai is going to be. And so I use the Uzumaki as the symbol, really, for the ikigai journey, that you're ever refined, ever deeper, ever richer understanding of it. All right. So that's a very different understanding of ikigai than what you'll hear in the job. thing. And I will tell you in closing a very quick story of why that's important beyond just what we talked about today. So as Sue mentioned, I led a large transformation, several of them, but the last one I was leading, I handed that company several $100 million worth of value, and they eliminated my department, and I went to early retirement. So jobs come and go. But because I had a sense for my ikigai, I was in a position to be able to take that next step. I didn't identify myself as my job. I wasn't identified with my career as being me. And because of that, I was prepared in a way that my peers were not, who had worked at that company their entire careers and things like that. And so having that understanding of yourself, having that understanding of your ikigai, not only enables you day-to-day living, but the long-term living, and allows you to grab those opportunities like being able to write a book and do consulting and coaching that I would never have done had I stayed in that career. And I'm grateful to today to be able to do.